God bless football. Billy Gill.
God bless football, Mikey A.
God bless football, Fuentes.
God bless football, Stugotz.
The Commanders won the draft, huh?
Yeah, how about that?
On a last-second tip at the goal line.
That's
unbelievable. Pat it down.
That's one of those games we thought was going to be like the game, and then it was like, and then it became the game.
Yes, it was a boring
it was pretty
game.
terrible for most of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a boring game most of the way until it wasn't, and then it became the most exciting game of the weekend. Crazy, right?
It was the weird 1 o'clock flexed into 4 o'clock game, too, right? They moved that game like 2 weeks ago, but like, not enough for Sunday Night Football. Just let's make this a 4 o'clocker.
And they weren't sure Jayden Daniels was going to play. He ended up playing. Go ahead, Billy.
That was a weird, like, hey, his ribs are totally, like, messed up. Let's put an ace bandage above his jersey for a little bit and then take that off for a second.
When I saw that package, I was like, "What? This is all for optics. This is doing nothing."
I didn't quite understand that. By the way, exciting news, guys.
What?
Very exciting news.
Really?
Boy.
Wow.
Mikey A, Mike Fuentes audience.
Huh?
We have Lucy in studio today.
Wow.
Yeah, that's coming up in a little bit. Yeah, in studio. Very exciting day.
She went to Ole Miss this past weekend. She's going to Penn State this weekend.
Wow.
She already has her credential. I don't have to call LeVar Arrington. She is good. She is in there. She is ready to go. But we do not bury college football here on God Bless Football, even after a very exciting NFL weekend, because the NFL was tremendous yesterday. You had Jameis Winston come back and beat the Baltimore Ravens.
Can we?
That was awesome.
I know.
Can we? And I don't want to put anyone in a bad spot here.
Okay, here we go.
Can we play a very quick game of winners and losers presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka? Please drink responsibly.
We can.
All right, so
I've got winners and losers. Let's go.
Okay,
we have a
great.
surprise for you.
Winners and losers music.
Winners and
Wow.
Production.
winners and losers.
Now this feels like a segment that is presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly.
Okay.
All right. Now, normally we get to winners and losers a little bit later in the show. However, my first winner this week, I feel like we cannot wait until later in the show.
Okay.
My first winner this week is us,
Wow.
the NFL audience, during the 1 o'clock window of the witching hour.
Yeah.
That 1 o'clock window of games, that witching hour, was something special. It was magical.
Yes.
It felt like almost every game was up for grabs.
I think there were 8 games in the 1 o'clock window. 6 of them were decided by like 4 points or less.
Ravens,
Where wins become losses and losses become wins.
Yes.
and that's what happened yesterday. Ravens, Browns, Jets, Patriots, Colts, Texans, Packers, Jaguars, Dolphins, Cardinals, unfortunately.
Yep.
Falcons, Bucks, all incredibly close games.
Yes. Yep.
Some of the plays happened. Some of the plays did not happen.
Yeah. You had the Browns with a 5-point win. I mean, the only 2 blowouts in that 1 o'clock window was Detroit and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
And the Lions are my best team right now, not named the Kansas City Chiefs. Last week it was the Ravens. Now it's the Detroit Lions. How about that?
Here's the thing. The Ravens, you know what they did yesterday? The Ravens had their classic playoff loss yesterday.
They did.
That is what the Ravens do in the playoffs to end their season every game, except they did it against the Browns. And by the way, the Browns got lucky because Jameis Winston threw an interception.
He did.
On that game-winning drive.
Kyle
was
Hamilton,
flat out dropped.
Yep.
I don't know how that was dropped. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But ended up getting dropped. So then Jameis leads the team back. They win the game. Jameis was all-time Jameis yesterday. Headed into the game. I don't know if you guys saw like the pregame press conference that he did a little not press conference, like sideline interview where he clearly had been speaking to the reporter beforehand, giving actual answers. And then once the camera turned on, all of the actual answers just went into Jameis mode.
So it was classic Jameis. The one thing he left out was the interceptions. He didn't throw one.
Yeah.
I mean,
He tried.
He did. Oh,
He
no.
tried.
He certainly tried. He should send a gift basket to Kyle Hamilton today, and every year for the remainder of time.
That's weird. Just to celebrate today.
Well, thank you for dropping that interception. I mean, because I'm back.
I can't believe that he hadn't started for 2 years
It's amazing.
Yesterday. I felt like he started at the Saints. Like I don't know what's
in
going
a
on.
league that's starving for quarterbacks. The fact that he hasn't started in that long is fairly amazing.
He's good enough, right? Like for a bad team, he's good
He
enough.
beat Lamar Jackson.
There's a few teams he could start on right now.
Yeah, he's good enough.
Definitely the Colts.
Yeah, I could think of one.
Oh, the Colts. Did you just mention the Colts? Because the Colts, they almost had a moment against the Texans yesterday.
They did.
That fumble recovery run back for a touchdown that then got overturned.
Yeah.
Very close play,
Yes.
I would say. Like
Yes.
if you're counting possession, for those of you who don't know what happened, the Colts were down a score.
Yes.
A couple points even.
Oh, 3. They were down 3.
They were down 3. A score. Yeah.
Right.
And Texans were driving. They were about to score a touchdown.
Type of score.
He guessed. He got it right. Just
Well,
leave him
no,
alone.
I didn't guess. I was watching.
He said a score.
He went for
He
the
didn't know
broad-
which score.
the
Could have been a
broad
safety. It
coverage,
could have been a
yes.
field.
Listen.
He said a score.
Good way to cover
Listen,
yourself,
that's it.
yes.
I had a long day yesterday. I had
one-score
a
game.
family party at night, which is just a crime against humanity.
On a Sunday night?
party.
Oh, Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are we still doing winners and losers?
We are doing winners and
Okay,
losers.
so winners and losers.
Yeah, this is still part
You're
of
my
it.
loser for going to that party last night.
Well, listen.
Or your friend is for throwing it. I mean,
Listen.
sorry.
Not my choice. We were there until quite late. I was in a suit 2 days in a row.
Wow.
That's the type of weekend I had. It was
Why?
because
2 suits or
mean,
one suit twice?
It was
Well-
a get together on a Sunday night that required a suit.
on a dirty little secret.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same suit.
why I asked.
Same suit.
Yeah, different shirts.
Same suit.
Different
Same
shirts.
suit.
Yeah, had a
suit.
Classic.
baptism on Saturday. We wore the suit, and then yesterday we were going back and forth. What do I wear? Do I wear a suit? What should I do?
You wear the same suit.
I wore the same suit.
Good for you.
It was clean. Yeah.
Was there anyone that was at
different
both
Same
both
people,
events?
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Who were like, hey, Billy's wearing the same suit?
Only my mother-in-law was at. Well, my wife, and my children.
Right.
But aside from,
But your wife was
aside
in
from
on
that,
it. Right. She knew.
Yeah. This second event, it became a conversation. Is this a suit event? Is this just a shirt event? Is it a shirt and tie but no jacket event?
Yeah.
I ended up going just suit.
Got it.
No tie, which is rare for me. Mm-hmm. Winners and losers is what we're doing here. Presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. The point is,
Yes.
with the Colts, I wasn't sure if it was like 3, 4, 5 points. I knew it was a one-score game. I knew that this scoop and score would have been the difference in the game. However, somehow the referees and the replay determined that enough possession was had that when the player was pushed to the ground while holding the ball almost David Tyree style, that constituted the player being down. So then they had to drive down the field. And you knew Anthony Richardson was not going to drive down the field.
Right.
Why
are you whispering that?
It's either a 75-yard to Alec Pierce.
That's all he could do.
Or nothing. Yeah.
It's either a play that will make you think he's the greatest quarterback that's ever lived, or nothing.
Those have become
there's no in
few and
between.
far between. Yeah,
feast or famine type. Guy.
exactly right.
He has no idea what a 10-play, 71-yard drive is. I mean,
Just grind it out.
I'm getting 70 in one play, or we're not getting 70.
Grind it out, Tony. You know what I mean? By the way, the Texans.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not sold on this.
They're 6-2. You can't be sold on anyone at this point, other than the Chiefs and maybe the Lions. You can't be. But the Texans are 6-2. Their point differential is +9. That's insane. It's an insane league. It really is.
As opposed to the Lions, who are +100.
Unbelievable.
The Lions are +100 on the season.
I know.
Yeah.
They might be the best team in football. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. This league is insane. It's insane. Like, even the Chiefs at 7-0, you're still not convinced. You're not.
Starting today, I'm going to keep track of every team you say is the best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it about like 7
That's what I'm
teams so
saying.
far this year.
If I had the ambition, I would go back to week 1 and I would just make notes.
I think at one point I had the Bucs as the best team in the NFL with Baker Mayfield winning an MVP.
The Ravens a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I'm pretty certain the Niners were the best team in the NFL at one point. They're not. The
Pretty
Packers.
sure you said the Jets.
I said the Jets right after that win.
They were
Yeah,
2-1,
I
yeah.
did. They're not.
Speaking of Jets,
Yeah.
Patriots, one of those games in the witching hour.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those games that sucked in the witching hour.
Drake, maybe.
Maybe. But Jayden Daniels, the Commanders won the draft, right? They won everything yesterday. I mean, they won the weekend. They won the draft. I mean, Billy, come on. The Commanders.
Yeah, but I mean, what we talked about, it wasn't a great game.
Best team in the NFL.
Up until the last 90 seconds where you had both teams score, wasn't a super fun game. It wasn't what we were hoping it would be. It turned into that for the last 90 seconds of the game.
When I say they won the draft, okay, Jayden Daniels is first in the NFL in completion rate. He is first in yards per attempt. He is first in net yards per attempt. Like, he is having an MVP type season.
No, he's not going to be the MVP this season.
He has a chance at winning the MVP. After yesterday, he does.
He's not going to be MVP this season.
Who's really running away with it?
Well, I don't. Okay, here's the one thing, and I don't want to.
Not Mahomes.
I don't want to be a party pooper on Jayden Daniels. I really, really don't.
Okay.
I'm worried about his size. Like, he needs to put on some weight because he's small.
Very thin.
He is.
He's a skinny guy, and I'm worried about the wear and tear. And we've already seen it, and I'm not like stepping out on a limb here, but I wonder if health is going to become a factor at some point this season. It already has to an extent, but we're only halfway through the season right now.
Right. It's a fair thing for you to be concerned about, but he has played every game this year. He held that ball for
but he missed the second half of last game, and this one he was being bandaged up and held together on the sideline, possibly for optics. Possibly.
I understand what you're saying. You have every reason to be concerned. I'm just saying this year, 8 games in, he has a shot at winning the NFL MVP. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but he does have a shot. The Commanders were awful, and they've been awful for a while, and they draft one guy, and that one guy has them at 6-2. I mean, that's an MVP to me. I know he's a rookie, but that's an MVP.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, though. I mean, there's 9 games left.
They also changed their coach. Which matters. I mean, like, their defense is playing, like, reasonably, which is, or maybe even a little better, which is to say something. Like,
no, the defense is playing really good. I mean, Washington has been a good football team. Their point differential is 70 points. I mean, they're 6-2. And Dan Quinn's a good defensive coach. So my winner yesterday is Nick Sirianni.
Ooh.
Leave him alone. I mean, they went into Cincinnati. They blew out Cincinnati, and everyone's like constantly on the guy.
I don't understand this. This is a take that he's been workshopping. I heard you on the offensive line this week where you were saying you were a Nick Sirianni guy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you've crafted this take and why you're going.
He's been building this take in midair for like a month.
I am not a Nick Sirianni guy. I'm a fan of a guy who's being criticized after being the only coach in that miserable organization's history that has taken them to the playoffs in the first 3 seasons, and now here he is sitting at 5-2. I mean, he's 5-2. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Joe Burrow on the road. Yeah. They've won 3 straight.
Jump off this wagon.
Yeah, but like also, this is a Bengals team that struggled this year, and you're painting it as this big win because you said that the Bengals were going to go on like a 4-game win streak, and they lost to the Eagles.
They were the best team in the NFL.
You're arguing against your own takes and using your own misguided takes as evidence for why your new take is a good take, which is incredible craftsmanship, I must say.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I've been doing it for 20 years. I have this.
Not going to stop now.
Second.
I have this thing that Cincinnati had won 3 straight headed into yesterday. That's why the win was so impressive for Philadelphia, and I still have the Bengals making the playoffs. How about that?
I have more winners than losers. You want them?
Yeah.
Fans of safeties. Big day for fans of safeties yesterday. Huge day. Huge day for winners of fans of safeties.
Okay.
Also, we skirted around the Jets-Patriots debacle at the end of the game.
We'll get back to that.
I feel like
we'll get back
to
almost
it.
intentional.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Also, loser.
I'm embracing the darkness right now, Billy. Got to learn to live with it.
What?
Yeah.
Are you
what Aaron
Bane?
said after the game.
Yeah. Oh, him.
That's what Aaron said. Yeah.
You want a loser?
Yeah.
People who do not celebrate Tight Ends Day because, oh my God, you couldn't go 4 seconds without someone saying Happy Tight Ends Day yesterday.
Yeah.
It was like Scott Hanson's
that was.
Oh no, everyone. Tarico was doing it at the end of the day. Everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
Made a Tight Ends Day.
That
belt
was going to be my
winners.
winner and loser.
Really, tight ends?
National Tight Ends Day, because I mean, I my ears were bleeding with hearing about National Tight Ends Day over and over. But at the end of the day, like, they scored 16 touchdowns and 177 catches. Like, they actually had a Tight Ends Day.
They celebrated their day.
They actually celebrated.
They did. Yeah. A big winner every weekend because she has the best job at Meadowlark Media is Lucy. She joins us next.
God Bless Football is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
Lucy is in studio. We're very excited for this. She is fresh off a weekend at Oxford, Mississippi. You loved it there, huh?
I loved the Grove. I would live in the Grove if they would let me. I was like, is there a spot in the schedule where we can go back to the Grove and just not go to the game because I want to spend so much time there?
So Mikey A, as you were saying that, was nodding his head in approval. He's been to the Grove. He knows what you're talking about. It's that good, huh, Mikey A?
It's the epitome of college football tailgating. It's everything you want it to be. The Grove is my favorite college tailgate.
Wait, so can you explain that, Lucy? Like, what makes the Grove so special? Because Mikey A said exactly what you said to me before the show today.
So so Ole Miss's campus is very small, and the Grove is this like semi-wooded area right in front of the stadium, and so they only really tailgate on the Grove. So it's all very like confined, so you're really able to get, wherever you want to go. But it is like the most, like, we talk to a tailgating service there because all the tailgates are done by tailgating services.
Right.
So people aren't just showing up and setting up a tent. They're hiring people to set up a tent, hang up a chandelier, get catering. We saw someone who hired a commissioned artist
Right.
to paint Ole Miss art. And it is like this insane, like, the way it starts is 7 p.m. the night before you're finally allowed into the Grove, and you don't have a set tailgating area. So all these people line up, and it's like a Black Friday sale almost, where you're sprinting to find your spot.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Billy made a face. I made the same face. We winced because do it yourself. I mean, tailgate. You don't need to outsource a tailgating company.
There are some people
get a grill and tailgate.
There are some people who do it themselves, which, like, normally, if you would have said this, if I would have heard me saying this a week ago, I would have been exactly on your side. But seeing how nice these commissioned tailgates were, I was like,
Yep.
If I had the money, I would.
Well, so how does this work? Because I'm imagining like that video where you see like the people with the folding chairs like running up to the front row of the concert and they swing it around and they sit down. But like if we're involving chandeliers, we need to like get some square footage there.
So it's like squatters' rights almost. So people aren't bringing stuff. There's like, from the company we talked to, they send like 150 people. They set up over 800 tailgates or 800 tents, which is different than tailgates, whatever. But they will
just there?
Just at the Grove.
At the Grove,
They don't do any other schools. They only do at Ole Miss. And there are competing companies. They are not the only company there doing like tailgating services. So people will all like line up and sprint just to claim a spot. So I believe they like hang up signs or whatever, but they're not setting up right then and there. The more like extravagant ones, they will. So like a lot of people do order chandeliers for their, like there were a ton of chandeliers at these tailgates everywhere, all over the place. So like if you have a more extravagant tailgate, you're probably going to start setting up over, at 7 p.m. the night before. But if you're doing like a more chill, casual one, then maybe you'll set up at, 4 or 5 that morning or whatever. But it is like I've never seen anything like it. I was like in shock most of the day because it was so insane.
And Lucy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the people are actually a lot more friendly than I've noticed at a lot of other tailgates.
Right.
Like you could walk in and out of any tailgate. Like we didn't get that in Kansas City when we went, Billy.
Well, that's because
like,
they're not doing any of the work. They have these companies doing it for them. They're not miserable. You got to sweat it out on a Saturday. I mean, Jesus.
They were so friendly. And so we asked the tailgating service, like, what are the nicest tailgates there are? And we went to the most expensive ones, the nicest ones. We had like private chefs cooking for us. We had like the most delicious Ole Miss cookie I've ever had. Like everyone was unbelievably friendly and like, come on by, take a drink. And it's so many people don't have a set spot. They're just floating from tent to tent.
Right.
It was one of the friendliest bunches we've ever seen. And like, I get why they're so nice. If your tailgating setup is that good, you're going to have a great day.
Yeah.
And this was the first game that we left the game and went back to the tailgate. And
Really?
significant time there.
Did you want to go into the game?
Not even a little bit. We were having so much fun, and the tailgates were so cool. And like, there's a downside to having tailgates that great. The game atmosphere wasn't, insanely great or anything like that. And it was one of those things where normally I judge you for that, but I was like, I wish I was in the Grove right now. It is so amazing and it's so cool. Which, like, it also makes sense because Ole Miss has had a tough 60 years of football. So, like, you might as well just win the tailgate.
2 weeks from now, Georgia, Ole Miss, you headed back, or
maybe?
Right, really?
If we go,
she didn't want to leave, Billy.
If we go, and I'll tell you, if we go, we're not going to that game.
Yeah,
I don't want to go to the game.
Oh, you're staying at the Grove?
I will stay at the Grove.
Yeah.
I will be there at 7 p.m.
Right.
I will claim my steak, even though I do think you have to pay for that.
But Billy is very skeptical. I can tell. Listen, your tailgate needs to be dirty. You need to get your hands dirty.
There were dirty spots.
All right.
Listen.
So that was the crazy thing too, is I've never seen a
Chandeliers.
tailgate where all the students are their tailgates are so intermixed mixed with like the grown adults. So you could walk, to a different section of the Grove and be in a true frat, nasty tailgate. But then you can also walk 10 minutes the other direction and be the nicest tailgate you've ever seen. That's like has like 15 chandeliers.
I'm somewhat skeptical of this, Stugotz. I feel like next year we should make a little road trip and go to Ole Miss to experience
To the Grove.
Because it seems like you need to go to kind of understand and appreciate. So I don't want to poo-poo it too much. I feel like maybe we should go to experience this next year.
Okay.
Can't go in 2 weeks.
No.
We're going to be in Arizona.
Oh, that's right.
We haven't announced that yet. It's a secret.
Yeah.
Secret's out. We're going to Arizona. Come see us.
So where are you headed this weekend, Lucy?
We're going to Penn State this weekend.
Big game.
Ohio State.
Wow, big game.
This one's huge.
Yeah.
This is the first time that it's felt like it usually, and I'm sure it'll probably end up playing out the way it always does. But it usually
with Penn State losing?
With Penn State losing, yeah. It usually feels like that's the way that game is going to go, but things are a little more wide open right now. Ohio State looked really, really bad against Nebraska this weekend.
Yes.
And if they had played any team that knows how to finish a game, they probably would have lost that game, and they probably should have lost that game. Penn State lost their quarterback at Wisconsin this weekend, but the backup came in, looked just like Trace McSorley. Like, literally, it's almost like they got a factory or something there.
Right.
And this is we're dealing with a very sort of different level of these two teams, where Ohio State maybe doesn't look as good. Penn State seems to have added like a new element. Their offense is scoring points a little easier. This is a really big, like, James Franklin, are you finally going to do something game?
It is. It's also a big Ryan Day game, though.
It's also a big Ryan Day game, which was so funny because Ohio State did beat Nebraska this weekend. They won the game. Mm-hmm. It was not enjoyable. It was not pretty. Nobody had fun. All I could see when I was going on Twitter were Ohio State fans begging for Curt Cignetti to come to Ohio State.
Were they really?
Yeah, which Ryan Day probably has the highest winning percentage of any coach in college football right now, and they're like, we hate the guy.
You know what just dawned on me? It's been a while since we've seen the whole Dylan Raiola, like Patrick Mahomes situation.
That's because they got bad.
Yeah, but so did Patrick Mahomes. They're playing like each other.
Right.
It's crazy.
They're
connected.
Yeah.
What if they're like really related? What if
Soulmates.
it's like a soap opera type of deal where they're actually brothers or something?
Wow. Do they know and they're keeping it a secret, or they don't know and they're going to find out?
I think that they're connected and they don't know.
Wow.
Being upgraded brothers, though,
I
right?
can see that. It's by the way, this game that you're going to is a big game, not just because it's 3 against 4. It's because one of these teams may now not be playing for the Big Ten championship, because Indiana secretly number 13 in the country, number 1 in the Big Ten conference. Every time you look at the standings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really weird, but we really have to acknowledge the fact that we might be shaping up for an Indiana-Oregon Big Ten championship game.
Well, I mean, they need to beat Ohio State, which is a tall task. But even if they beat Ohio State, like...
And right now, if they're on Indiana's quarterback was hurt this week. He did not play. They still were able to get past Washington. I think Indiana has like the longest streak right now of like beating teams by like 14 points or something or more. It's crazy. Like, they have just been unbelievably dominant this year. Like, that's what's been so shocking about Indiana is they're not like dilly-dallying through these games.
They're blowing teams out.
They're blowing teams out. And by the way, last week they played Nebraska. They won 52-7, I believe. Nebraska almost beat Ohio State the next week. If we're playing, and the transitive property never really applies, but if we're looking at it through that lens, like, Indiana might be favored. I don't know if it's in Columbus or in Bloomington, but if it's at home, Indiana might be favored in that game.
So this is a crazy question, and it's in Ohio State. This is a crazy question. It's not going to sound serious, but could we really be going from Indiana, cute story, to are they going to sneak into the playoffs?
Absolutely. There are 12 available spots right now, and I think you're going to run into a situation where I think the ACC gets 2 teams max. I think the Big 12 gets 1 team max. You have a spot for Boise State, but you're not going to see any other. I'm assuming it's going to be Boise State, but any other group of 5 schools. So, like, there is a lot of leeway here. I think you kind of have to look at other schools in the sense of, hey, how does Indiana play Ohio State? I think it's going to matter. Does Alabama lose again? I think that's going to matter. I think it honestly matters more what happens in the SEC for Indiana's future than what necessarily happens in the rest of the Big Ten, because I don't believe their remaining schedule is too difficult, with the exception of Ohio State.
Yeah. Could there be 4 Big Ten teams? Because let's say Ohio State wins. So then you have a 1-loss Penn State team, a 1-loss Ohio State team. If Oregon goes undefeated or loses 1 game, is Indiana if they lose to Ohio State, 1 loss, going to get in above any of those 3?
I think it could absolutely happen, because my whole issue with it right now is Indiana doesn't necessarily have sort of like the brand name sort of marquee that comes with being a big time college football team.
It feels like they have to be perfect.
Yeah,
to get
because
in.
if Michigan were having the season that Indiana had right now, we would never even question it.
It's so crazy that Michigan just fell off and we don't even talk about them.
We all knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, but just seeing it actually happen is crazy.
Their offense is like, and I know bad offense better than pretty much anyone, is heinous. Like, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. But the thing with Indiana that just concerns me, and it really has nothing to do with Indiana, it has to do with the fact that I don't trust the college football playoff selection committee to watch college football. And I think that if they're going to have a choice between a 1-loss Indiana team and a 2-loss Alabama team,
they're going to default to the 2-loss Alabama.
They're going to pick Bama, even though right now, like, Indiana, they are doing crazy. They are really, really good. They are blowing teams out. And, like, Washington was one of the closest games they've played this season, and they didn't have their starting quarterback, but it still wasn't close. Like, they are a unbelievably good football team. And I think what was so interesting about Indiana is it's not like they're just like, okay, they go off in the second half. They start the game strong. They end the game strong. They are, like, just so consistently a good football team. And it's so cool. Like, Indiana's kind of the reason that I'm starting to buy into the 12-team playoff a little bit more, because, like, how sick would it be for Indiana to do this?
Well, I'll just say the fact that their games matter more later into the season, not just them, a lot of schools, for me, that's a good reason to expand the playoff to 12 teams,
Look who's back.
Yeah.
Games matter.
Right.
I want you to say it.
More games matter. No, they do. I've already... Listen, I was wrong. The 12-team playoff has been great for college football. It has not ruined the regular season, and more games matter, and more teams are in it for longer parts of the season. That's a good thing.
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah. I felt that at Tennessee, Alabama, where I was asking fans, is this a elimination game for the playoff? And a lot of them felt like that was the case. I don't necessarily know if that's true. I think next week, or 2 weeks from now, Bama and LSU play, and that'll definitely be an elimination game. But everything's wide open. We really don't have a set idea of who's going to be there. Like, you're going to have your conference at large bids, and it's exciting and it's really fun. And, like, we could see Indiana, Boise State, A&M all in the playoff.
You could see Pitt?
Yeah, you could see Pitt in the playoff. Right. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Pitt in the playoff.
No one wants to see Pitt, but you might see Pitt.
It's a cute story. Right. Don't want to see it happen. Right. Also, like, if you're asking me, Indiana and then Alabama, and the two of them are one against each other, I think I'd put Alabama in.
All right.
Yeah,
I think I'd still put if they played each other, I don't. Indiana's a nice story. I haven't really played anyone.
Yeah.
I would say that Indiana doesn't have, like, the exact schedule that Alabama has had. Also, Indiana doesn't have any loss, and Alabama has 2.
Yeah.
I do think Indiana would beat Vanderbilt.
Vandy's good, though.
Yeah, no, Vandy is good. They really challenged Texas this weekend. I would just say that, like, Alabama is not playing well, and they haven't been playing. Mizzou doesn't count. Mizzou is a dumpster fire right now. Oh. But Alabama is not playing well right now, and that's why I'm concerned, is because eye test wise, you take the jerseys off, you'd put your money on this Indiana team, and I just don't think that the college football playoff can create enough separation.
It's just
if they're undefeated, they go in.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
It's hard to imagine, even as bad as Michigan's been, it's hard to imagine Indiana back-to-back weeks, because they're going to have to do this: beat Michigan and then beat Ohio State at Ohio State.
Yeah, the Ohio State game is going to be the real eye test. I don't necessarily know if Michigan is going to be the real eye test. It'll be interesting to see the way that Indiana's offense goes up against Michigan's defense, who is still very, very good.
Right.
But the Michigan win isn't as quality. But Michigan is also a team that's also sort of always bitten Indiana, where they tend to play Michigan pretty close and lose every single time. They're like a metaphorical Nebraska against Michigan.
All right. I have one Lucy or Goosey for you, and then a new game, Would You Be Shocked? I'm just going to throw some teams out for you, and you tell me if you'd be shocked if they hoist the trophy at the end of the season.
Just one Lucy or Goosey. This might be the biggest one ever. Then
I mean, no, I can make it 2 if you'd like.
No, you said 1.
You want 1? Okay. Here it is. Notre Dame should have been more respectful of our troops. Lucy or Goosey?
I'm going to go Goosey.
Wow.
Not because I believe... Well, because I feel like Navy was disrespectful to Navy.
Okay.
You turn the ball over like 6 times. I mean, that's on you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, I could do this all in Lucy or
Also-
Goosey form, and would you be shocked? Like, I'm going to wrap the whole thing up together, okay?
Can I do a quick tidbit? So
Yes.
I believe Navy turned the ball over 6 times and
Yes.
they lost. SMU turned over the ball 6 times this weekend and won.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Won.
Yeah. Interesting.
Notre Dame sneaky back in the mix now for a playoff spot
yeah,
after
they're so
completely
Very much so.
disrespecting
Yes.
our armed forces.
Yes. Right. They should be in prison for treason.
They
Exactly
have,
right.
They have the
Same
chance to
page.
do it again against Army.
Yeah. Well,
No, we want Army in. I mean,
Look, I'm not
we want them
rooting
both
for
in.
anybody.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, Navy is 8-0.
look, if we're going to be honest, we just want Notre Dame out.
Yeah.
That's just the
Yeah.
reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Justice here, I won't say that.
No, it's more for goalie purposes.
Lucy or Goosey, BYU can win the national championship.
I'm gonna go Goosey right now.
wow.
Obviously BYU undefeated. They're having a great year, but the way that Indiana is winning games is very dominant. And like that's why I'm really buying in. BYU is just kind of like lucking into a lot of these things. They probably shouldn't have beat Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago. They're keeping these games very, very close. I think that the Big 12, you have 2 undefeated teams left in Iowa State and BYU. I think they both could have a loss in their season.
Okay.
They're not winning games in a dominant enough fashion for me to think that they're particularly great.
All right. What were you smiling at?
I feel like you stole a question from your next game and put it in this game because wasn't your next game? Could you imagine these people winning a championship and then you just asked that question?
Yeah, and she just answered the next one I had, which was Iowa State.
Oh wait, is this Lucy or Goosey or your other game?
It's 2 games wrapped into one is what it is. Yeah.
I don't think Iowa State could win a national championship. I think they could very much win the Big 12. They're having a great year. Rocco Becht has been amazing so far, and I actually sneaky root for them. I want them to do well.
All right. It seems like you think Indiana could win the national championship.
I think that if they faced a team like Georgia or Texas, they would probably lose. But
Right.
I think that Alabama could they could compete with Oregon or Indiana. They could compete with Oregon, and they could win a playoff game.
We're going to have like all this. It's exciting. It's fun. They fixed it. 12-team playoffs. Great. It's going to be like Georgia, Texas. It's going to be like one of those.
Ohio
teams.
State,
Right.
Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
It's going to be the Final Four.
I think the first round we're going to be like, why did we do this?
Yeah,
Why did
yeah.
we expand?
Yeah.
If BYU played all their games in Provo, do they have a shot at winning a national championship?
No.
No? Really?
I
Wow.
don't.
Okay.
They've been a very fun story this year, but
All right.
I think that there are a lot more talented teams.
All right.
But they're fun. They're fun to root for. I like their quarterback, BYU. They've got a great story
Yeah.
going there. It's
Yes.
fun.
Yeah.
You want a quick don't look now?
Sure.
Don't look now. Colorado in the top 25. After Deion said, don't put us in the top 25.
He doesn't like it there.
I mean, get out of here.
I think it's funny.
Nonsense.
I think it's very funny. The second we all were like, okay, we're done talking about Colorado, they're like, finally, we're good.
That you don't believe that though. Deion doesn't want a number 23 next to his name. He wants like a 5 next to his name or a 6. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
So he's
would
like,
rather-
don't put me in the top 25 until I'm in the top 5.
Yeah. Just keep us unranked.
Yeah.
26, 23, they're the
Right.
same.
Yeah.
Put us in there when you get to single digits.
Exactly right.
That's so great. You go from, I guess, college football heaven to college football hell in Penn State. I'm sorry, it is.
It's
Happy
a
Valley.
They have
please.
a dairy thing.
It's
No
right?
one's
No,
happy there. I
It's
mean,
an insanely cool stadium, and the crowd is really, really loud. The weather's not going to be so fun.
No.
And it is just a very difficult place to get to.
all right.
Don't ask James Franklin any tough questions. He'll just walk
No,
away.
he'll just walk out.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
he's-
weird. Weirdest press conference
Just
ever.
absolute, just
Gosh.
the biggest PR, mess up I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
He could do it as long as he remains undefeated, though.
All he had to say was like, "Sorry, I can't answer any
Yeah.
questions,"
Yeah.
and things would have been fine. But
Yeah.
he made a situation that's already really bad worse.
Well, no, he just disappeared, and then
Just left.
the PR person would come, and then he'd like show up like it was his first time at the press conference, like, "Hey, any questions?" And the ask thing would just disappear, and then like reset, like we all just forgot we saw you.
It was just a bad
So
move
weird.
across the board, and it would have been really a nothing burger in the media cycle had he just said, "Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I can't answer any questions," but he walked off, and now you have more attention on this already pretty bad thing that has happened.
All right, Lucy, we appreciate it as always. We're glad you had fun this weekend. Enjoy this weekend. And my hopes for you is that you one day get yourself back to the Grove.
I really
Yes.
want to go back to the Grove. I'll just go with whatever. There doesn't need to be a game. I'll go.
You just be in the forest.
I'd like it though. It's really nice.
I want to get to the Dolphins here with Billy. We have the BBBs coming up in the next segment. Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh and the Giants. Steelers win. They're in first place because the Ravens lost.
Could I issue an apology?
Sure.
I want to apologize sincerely for saying that Ole Miss is in the middle of the forest. I misunderstood
That's
the
Penn State,
situation,
yeah.
and I was quickly corrected. I heard that it was a woodland area, so I assumed forest because I'm not one that ventures out
Can't
into
see the forest through the trees.
I don't venture out into the forest or the woods, so I just want to apologize for anyone who may be upset by the insinuation that Ole Miss has a forest when it's a wooded area.
I don't think it's the SEC. It's Mississippi. You thought there was a forest there?
I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you, I assume
You had no idea.
I assume if there's just lots of trees, it's a forest.
Right.
Yeah.
Trees equal forest.
Yeah.
I understand.
One's a tree, 2 or 3 is like a tree, family.
Right.
4+ is a forest.
4+ trees.
Is a forest, yeah. Or a
interesting.
tree farm.
Right. Yeah.
Unless if they're growing the trees, it's a tree farm. If not, it's a forest to me. But I'm wrong, and that's why I'm apologizing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
do we accept the apology?
it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you just want to kind of,
I'll forgive him, but I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Fuentes.
I just don't really care about the state of Mississippi much.
All right, there we go. Way to ingratiate yourself to the state of Mississippi. I'm trying to apologize
There you
for
go.
upsetting them, and you just come on one of the
When we
first
go to
things
Ole
you
Miss,
say
you
is
can't
just
come.
poop on them for no reason.
All right.
Sure, they care the same amount about Florida.
They don't.
Yeah.
Mississippi cares about
I
Mississippi.
disagree.
Yeah.
I
Here we are
disagree.
together.
I think people in Mississippi love us. If you're from Mississippi and are listening to this show, tweet at us. Hashtag I'm sorry.
All right. Again, we do have the BBBs. I want to get to the Dolphins, but this is very exciting. Mikey A has a new game, Billy.
Oh, really?
He has a new game.
Wow.
It's called You Would Have Called Me Crazy.
Ooh.
You would have
It's a
called
bit
me
wordy,
crazy.
yeah, but I'm into it. Yeah. I got a good feeling about it. So go ahead. Let's play your game, Mikey A. Let's play it.
Listen, if you think back to before, like when we were in Kansas City before the season started, and I would have told you that in week 8, Geno Smith would be leading the league in passing, you would have called me crazy.
You're right. No, I would have called him crazy.
I don't know. I feel like
You would have
last
called me
year-
crazy.
I would have called him crazy.
He had a 4,000-yard season just 2 seasons.
I would have called him crazy
Yeah.
still.
He's
Yeah.
leading the league, I guess.
Yeah.
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 All right, how about this? You guys want to talk about this?
Go ahead.
If I would have told you back then that the Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, and Jaguars would combine for 9 wins, you would have called me crazy.
I would have.
By week 8, yes.
By week 8, yeah.
Yeah.
By week 8,
Yeah.
they would have had 9 wins between those 4 teams. You would have called me crazy.
I would have called you crazy. You're right. I'm both, by the way. I agree with both of
Yeah.
them. Now I want to play the game.
I just said, how did the Jaguars get 2 wins?
This is kind of it.
Oh, that's it?
Kind of it. I'm kind of done with it.
That was it?
I got one more if you want it.
You're out of
I
material.
got one more if you want it.
I mean,
Kind of.
I got one more.
One more would be nice.
I said it was short.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So give us one more. If you you did say it was short.
I did. I said, all right, you would have called me crazy if I told you in week 8, the NFC North would have 8 total losses.
I would have called you
Between
crazy.
all 4 teams.
I
You
would have
called me crazy.
I would have called you crazy. You're right. I'm trying to come up with one right now.
Are you?
They're hard. That's why it's a short game.
Well, I think the better way you would have called me crazy if I told you through 8 weeks everyone in the NFC North has a winning record. Because they do.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Everyone has a winning record. You would have called me crazy, I think, 8 weeks ago if I said to you that the Arizona Cardinals would be in first place in the NFC West. Yeah, crazy.
You would have called me crazy if I told you the Commanders would be in first place.
I would have. You would have called me crazy if I told you Bo Nix was the best rookie quarterback of all the rookie quarterbacks.
Can I
He might be. I mean, he might.
Can I give
He
you
might.
Can I give you a
Well,
live?
I mean, prisoner of the moment.
Yeah.
Can I give you a live?
Jayden Daniels had a bad game.
You could call me crazy.
Yeah.
I have a take that I want to workshop and share with you guys and tell
Okay.
me what you think.
All right.
Lions were fun last year, right?
Yeah.
Great team. Everyone was rallying behind them.
Okay.
Yeah.
This year, not fun. They're winning by way too much. The games aren't close. I'm just let's have a little suspense here, Lions.
You're crazy.
This is not a fun.
you
This
are
isn't
crazy.
a fun team to
Yes.
watch at the
I
moment.
wouldn't have called you. You're crazy.
No, this
Yes.
is not the Lions. The Lions right now are not a fun team to watch. The games aren't
They were
close.
very fun against Minnesota. That Minnesota game was
Was a good
back
game.
and forth. It
Guys,
was very
yes.
fun. Just because they beat the hell out of
Guys,
Tennessee.
Jared Goff had 85 passing yards yesterday, and they won by almost 40 points.
Yeah.
The team is not that fun right now. They're blowing teams out.
Yeah.
I'm sure a Detroit fan.
Tennessee is not fun.
You can call me crazy. That's fine. Call me crazy. I don't care.
I mean, they beat the Vikings by 2 points. I understand they blew out Dallas 47-9.
They're blowing teams out. The Seahawks, they blew out.
I mean, they've blown out a lot of football teams. They're really good, and they have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But you like the Lions when they're playing these back and forth, 38-35.
I like the scrappy. I like the let's bite off the kneecaps. The Juggernauts.
They're too talented.
Yeah, they're too good right now.
That's weird, man.
I mean, we have 2 potentially fun games against the Packers and the Texans, but the Texans, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know if the Texans are good? I don't know.
I have no idea. I know the Chiefs are good, and I'm still not certain. And I think the Lions are good.
You know the Chiefs are good?
I don't know. I said I'm still not certain.
Well, then you don't know the Chiefs are good.
Well, I mean, I have a feeling they're pretty good. I mean, I have a feeling they're 7-0.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a really easy concept. He thinks they're good, but they're not. He's not certain.
Yeah, I mean, they could be bad.
Yeah, that's why he thinks it. Doesn't know it.
I don't know.
Maybe.
But right now they're good.
Sounds crazy.
The Buccaneers we wrote off, and then yesterday they had a chance. They throw a Hail Mary. They actually complete it, but he's out of bounds at the end.
Yeah.
They play the Chiefs next week. How's that one going to go?
Oh, the Chiefs will win.
Probably.
I still won't know if they're any good.
Probably. See, the Chiefs should be doing what the Lions are doing, right? Like the Chiefs should be blowing people out and coasting and not worrying about the regular season. I feel like these are not these are stressful wins for the Chiefs. Like they have battle scars from this 7-0 that they don't need to have winning back-to-back Super Bowls.
Right.
Make it easy on yourself. Why are they doing this?
I don't know. It's interesting.
Play better.
Yeah, play better. Well,
Play better, yeah.
They got DeAndre Hopkins. Kelsey looked good yesterday.
Well, he got a touchdown.
Well, I know, but that just having DeAndre Hopkins out there frees them up. They'll get Pacheco back. I mean, they're going to be good. I just don't know if they're good now.
Imagine having Hopkins and you don't really need him because he didn't do all that much yesterday.
They don't need him. I was preparing the takes if they had lost that game. Sometimes, just leave good enough alone. That was the take I was going with. Like, you don't need to, when you're eking out victories, you don't need to bring in a superstar. Just leave it alone.
Keep it in your back pocket. You might be able to use it next week.
But
Yeah.
they won.
Keep
But
it in
they
your
won.
back pocket.
Right, but they won.
As soon as they lose one game, he's going to unleash on them.
Tua was back yesterday.
Tua was back yesterday.
How'd you feel about it? Dolphins had a chance to win that game. Should have won that game.
Yeah, they should have won that game. Their defense, I don't know what their defense was doing. They had multiple receivers get 100 yards on them. The defense was the story of yesterday is why that team did not win.
But a lot of guys from last year's defense, they're playing on other teams because they had to sign Tua, Hill, Jalen Waddle.
Injuries, too. You have Chubb's still out. Jalen Phillips out again. He's out the rest of the season.
But Van Ginkel is gone, and other guys have left.
Sealer misses a game for the first time in like 2 years.
You also had Waddle dropping passes like he always. You had a number of just dropped balls that should have been caught. Like
I'm going to say it. That Waddle contract is looking like a gigantic mistake.
Yeah,
to pay a guy top 5 money and then he's dropping passes and with all the other holes you have, that contract is looking really
I would
bad.
say the McDaniel contract is looking like a mistake.
I mean, I didn't think the offense was that bad yesterday.
No.
Yeah, but no, it's not about it being that bad yesterday. Do it without Tua. Like that's
But you need to do it without Tua if he's healthy.
I understand that, but like if you're a good offensive coordinator, if you have a good offensive mind, you'll figure out how to get Tyreek Hill involved even when Tua's not there.
I saw a pretty good amount of film after that game, the last game where they really struggled, and I thought it was on Mike McDaniel. He can't get these guys open all this scheme. It just turned out that Tyler Huntley sucked. He was terrible.
Yep.
He was grabbing the ball a lot, taking off right away. He would leave clean pockets.
Okay.
He was just not good.
That's the coach's responsibility.
It makes total sense.
Okay.
That's why he was on a practice squad.
All right.
Okay. Well, I mean, the offense got going again yesterday. It looked night and day. The team that we saw yesterday from the team that we've seen the last 4 weeks, whatever it was. Tua, I am conflicted. He went running. He went for a 13-yard run. He slid at the end, got a standing ovation. The stadium was erupting. It looked like they had just won the Super Bowl.
Loudest the stadium was.
It was crazy how excited people were for the slide.
So weird.
I headed into yesterday's game. I was excited Tua's back. I am a Tua fan. I have the Tua jersey, all of that, right? However, and this is a selfish way of me kind of processing it because I've wanted Tua to come back for the past couple of weeks. 30 minutes before the game, 10 minutes before the game, as the game is going on, I'm kind of like, I like the Dolphins. I want to watch the Dolphins. I want to watch Tua. I want him to succeed. I don't want to see another catastrophic concussion.
Right.
Like so I was very conflicted watching it because I was like, I'm worried for him, and I don't. And it sounds terrible.
It was hard to watch before the last concussion.
I don't want to see it happen. No, before the last concussion, it wasn't, because we had a full season of health, and he had a great season last year. Kind of unraveled a little bit at the end of the season.
Billy, I'm just telling you, for me personally, since the Bills game, he's been a difficult watch. Since the Bills game a couple of years ago, it's just been hard to watch.
Bills
him.
Game?
Since he had. Yeah, the game where he stumbled on the field and fell. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's just been hard for me to watch.
Prior to the Bengals concussion.
Yes,
and then the Christmas Day Packers one.
I know he wants to play. I'm not trying to tell him to do otherwise. It's hard to watch him because I don't want him to get hurt. Like,
I don't want him to get hurt either.
I don't want to be watching.
Right.
I don't want to be watching
I don't want
when
to
it
see
happens.
it. Right.
That's the really uncomfortable thing, like, to say out loud is, like, I care about his health. Also, I don't want to see him get hurt.
Right.
I don't want him to get hurt, but, like, it's hard. I don't want to tell him not to play, but, like, going into the game, I was like, man, I'm happy he's back. The team is going to be better. If something happens, it's just going to be so bad.
Yes. I'm not certain they shouldn't, only because they're fine with Tua playing. Tua is clearly fine playing football, but at 2-5 in an AFC that you're not going to win, why not just rest him for the rest of the season? Why not?
Well, no, now he's playing.
I know, but why not? I'm just saying, make a football decision for your future here. Why play him on a 2-5 team that won't win the conference when he could spend the rest of the season resting?
I mean, I'm not a neurologist.
Because it's not going to get better.
Yeah, I don't know that
it doesn't go away. When he plays next year, it's still going to be there. It's there until he's done playing.
I guess you're right.
Hey,
that's fair.
Guys, guess what?
What?
When we come back,
yes,
there's a tease. When we come back.
All right, BBBs?
Yeah, well, the tease is ruined.
Wait,
I thought it was going to be something else. Everyone knows it's the BBB.
I guess that's
Everyone knows.
Right.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Back,
I'm sorry.
Back after this.
Billy is upset at me and Mikey A for not addressing the Dolphins. Would you like me to address them quickly here before you get to the BBBs?
The Jets.
I mean the Jets. Excuse me. We did address the Dolphins with Billy.
No, I mean, you guys are trying to avoid it. It's obvious. That's fine. By the way, one thing that we haven't addressed is our weekly fantasy contest presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. Yes. Yesterday, I was looking good. When you get Cade Otton off of the scrap heap and he gets you 29 points, you are sitting pretty. And, by the way, it was between him and Pitts for me. Either way would have worked out splendid.
Yep. Kyle Pitts had a game. Yeah.
No one else on my team did anything, and I finished in 300 and something place again. So,
all right.
That's what happens when you think you know something. You just get brought back down to earth.
All right. Before we get to the BBBs, the Jets are lousy. Aaron Rodgers is terrible. He's not good enough. They haven't scored 30 points once. They've lost 5 straight. They haven't won since Robert Saleh was fired. Robert Saleh is now working for the Green Bay Packers. It's an unmitigated disaster, and I blame everything, all of it, on Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to get comfortable with the darkness because you were supposed to lead us out of the darkness. I am tired of you, okay?
All right.
That is it on the Jets. Let's get to the BBBs.
They could go on a run here. You never know.
I mean, I don't want to hear that every single week, and enough of the darkness. Yeah.
Stu, it's the hope that kills you, and the hope is gone.
Yeah.
Embrace the fact that the rebuild is starting. Embrace it.
No.
You don't have to worry about them anymore.
No.
They're bad. We don't have to worry.
You don't have to
hope.
No.
Is out here having fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm not having fun. No, it's been 40 years of darkness. He was supposed to lead me out of the dark.
I don't have to care anymore. I don't have to care anymore.
All right, you're right. Yeah.
All right, it's time for Billy's Bets Big Words, brought to you by. We're still waiting on a sponsor here. We'll get to it soon. Feldman, get on it. So, anyway, I don't know why I'm calling up by name.
Yeah,
so,
weird.
This last week, 4-2 on the season, 20-11.
Wow, way to go.
We've been hot this season. The first one that I'm going to go with, TJ Watt, over 0.25 sacks.
0.20. I mean,
that means you just have to get half a sack.
Half a sack. Right.
He only has 4.5 sacks this season. He hasn't had a sack since week 5. However,
he's due.
Daniel Jones is a sack magnet. He's been sacked 21 times this year already. Only Deshaun Watson has been sacked more times at 33.
I like that.
TJ Watt, over 0.25 sacks.
I like a sack magnet. That is funny. Yeah. It's like something you stick on the fridge, you know?
Yeah.
That's how magnets work.
That's
Daniel
correct.
Jones is a fridge, and he has pass rushers stuck to him. They just attract him.
All right, my next one, Chris Boswell, over 1.5 field goals.
All right, the Boz.
Yeah. He's had a decent season. The only thing that's I think is going to stop him from kicking the 2 field goals, not misses, even though there's been a lot of misses. By the way, your Jets, we didn't talk about it.
Enough.
Greg Zuerlein.
He should be cut. Yeah.
6 missed field goals this season, leads the NFL.
Enjoy the darkness.
Bad season. Yeah.
All right, so you have over 1.5 for Boswell.
Yeah, I think
because when Tomlin's kicking field goals, he's got you right where he wants you. I mean,
I was gonna go with an over in field goals for the game or over in field goals for the Giants.
Right.
But I feel like the Giants are in a position where we're just going for it now every time. We're not kicking field goals anymore. The field goal kicker hasn't been great this season.
Okay.
But also I feel like we're coaching for our jobs at this point, so we're not settling for field goals. Next one and last one, Russell Wilson over 1.5 touchdowns. Yeah. Not going to do any time with him. He's not going to be running anywhere. He's going to be throwing the ball. Russell Wilson over 1.5 touchdowns.
All right, he is 20-11 on the season with the BBBs. Russell Wilson playing himself back into the Hall of Fame. Amazing.
Is it?
No, I'll be watching Yankees Dodgers.
Terrible game tonight.
God bless football, everyone.